Hello, I'm David Zahn of OK Now What, and I'm going to talk to you today about 7 mistakes new coaches or consultants make as they launch their business. But I'll go through all 7 first, and then we'll return to the first one and go into a little bit more detail and go through all 7 that way. So the first one is be certain you're clear on who your audience is, who you're targeting. In essence, who is it that you're talking to? Next, you'll want to go through and be certain that you have an appropriate amount of interactivity or engagement with those that you are targeting. We have all been bored, sometimes to tears, if we don't have any level of involvement, interaction, engagement. As a teacher, certainly you understand the importance of not strictly lecturing at a group of students or learners. It is the quickest way to lose their attention, and you don't want to do that. And it may come as a surprise to you, but adults have even a shorter span of attention than you might otherwise think or believe. We'll go into more details about that soon. Be aware the learning environment counts for a lot of what is retained. As someone who is familiar with how to form an environment that's conducive to learning, this probably comes as no surprise to you, but we want to certainly emphasize, especially as it relates to online, that the environment is an important component to any learning. Next, no shock here. Give people an opportunity to trial the skills, to put them and apply them into a job or job related scenario. Practice does, in fact, make perfect. Then be sure that any instructions you provide are clearly understood. Don't assume people can follow what it is that they're being asked to do. Be very specific in any kind of directions or instructions that you are offering or providing. And obviously, you don't want to just go in and figure, well, I know my material and I know my audience, and therefore I can just roll out of bed and do things perfectly. Our number 6 tip is don't try to wing it. Rather, do the appropriate preparation. And our last one is don't just assume that at the end of whatever your intervention is, your training, your approach to helping people learn some new skill, that they're able to do it on their own. It is really essential that we provide some reinforcement, some ability for people to refer back to materials, skills, etc. And again, we'll go into more details about that. So let's hit each of these now in turn. So our first point is you have to be sure that you are properly tailoring any content to your audience. If you don't do that, they're going to wonder, is this really for me? How do I apply this? What is it that I'm supposed to glean or remember from this information? So if you want people to truly be on board with anything that you're providing them in the way of a coaching, consulting, training intervention, be sure you start strong, explaining to them what it is they're going to learn, why it's important to them, how they're going to better their ability to perform a particular task. In order to do that, you want to engage them in some kind of active learning, not just simply passively listening to you as the expert, but rather do things that help them participate. And be really clear on how this impacts them in their work performance. All too often, we expect that people can make that translation from in economics, they often talk about guns versus butter and what's the more important component to an economy. Make something relevant to what they specifically do. Don't ask them to somehow translate it back to their work environment. Then be sure you're providing appropriate opportunities for interactivity, whether that's providing them with a chance to work with another partner, group activities, participating in some kind of simulation or role play. These are all important things that you might want to include. Just simply talking at people is not going to lead to the higher level of retention. So where appropriate, where necessary, get people involved in hands-on activities, having them do a task, have them think about how this could apply to their job, provide them chances to work with others. This becomes even more essential when you're doing something remotely in an online environment. And speaking of the environment, be sure that the training is being completed in a comfortable learning environment. If you are doing face-to-face training, think in terms of what the room layout will consist of. Are you just having rows of chairs? Will they be working in tandem with others? Will there be group work? Give some thought to, are they able to see based on where they are positioned or seated? Is there appropriate lighting? Can people see a projected image from all places that they are seated? Can they hear if you have either a video that's being played or if you're speaking, can everyone hear what's being shared? And then if you are online, give a lot of thought to do people know how to navigate? Do you, as the instructor, know how to navigate from either sharing your slide to going back and maybe being on screen, being able to go from on screen to then going maybe to a presentation as an example, or maybe you'd like to have both up at the same time. These are all opportunities for you to demonstrate that you understand the importance of that learning environment. Next, practice. Not just your practice, but give your attendees an opportunity to practice the skill. Don't just expect them to absorb it all and then be able to apply it when they go back to their jobs, but rather give them the chance to try and even struggle in the training environment so that they can learn from that and then provide themselves with the confidence to do it well when they get back on the job. And then we've spoken before about the importance of instructions. Be really clear on what it is that we're asking people to do so that they can properly perform whatever task you've given them to do when they are to complete a training activity. So if there are going to be different job aids that you're using, if you're going to give them rubrics, let them use it not only in the class, but once they go back to the job as well. And then don't think that you can just do this because you've done it before. Put in the right preparatory time so that you can correctly steer the training, the consulting effort in the direction that you want. Really, even if it comes down to making a checklist and going through it one by one to ensure you cover all the important points and that you do use all the right resources. Do this in a way so that you can avoid having the fits and stops and starts. And then lastly, be really clear that the training doesn't end at the close of a session, but if there are opportunities to provide follow-ups, reinforcements, even quizzes to ensure that knowledge or skill has been retained, these are all chances for you to ensure that the training does stick. And then to kind of bring it all to a summary here, it's a good practice, just as we're doing right here and now. You tell people what you're going to tell them. You then provide them with what it is that you are assigned to tell them, and then remind them, tell them what you've told them so that you can avoid these 7 mistakes and that you can do the things that will ensure that the training does have maximum impact. If you'd like to have a more detailed discussion on how to do this for your business, please feel free to set up time for us to get together at oknowwhat.biz/calendar and choose a time that fits your schedule. And maybe it makes good sense for us to get together and enroll you in the Catapult to a Career in Coaching or Consulting to help you launch and succeed in your business and get 2 clients in 60 days. I want to work with you, and I hope we can make your launch as successful as possible. Look forward to doing so.